What's up guys, Syiler here with an Immerseus boss guide in the Siege of Orgrimmar, and this guide is going to consist of two parts. The first part being a short version covering all the basic information that you'll need to get through this fight, basically a brief summary if you just need a quick bit of information. And the second part will be a longer, more in-depth part that will fully cover the fight for all roles. So we're going to start off with the short version first, just give you that snippet of information if you've only got a couple of minutes to learn the fight. So, mechanics everyone in the raid needs to worry about. First of all, I'd say have your raid equally spread out around the room, and the first mechanic you need to worry about is called Swirl, and this will cause a small puddle to spawn under each player. Literally just move out of that puddle and those will despawn in phase 2. The next ability is called Swirl, and these will cause like little water spouts that will be moving around the room to spawn, and they'll knock players up and deal a small amount of damage. In addition to that, the boss will also be rotating around the room doing a sort of water blast, and if you're hit by this water blast you'll be knocked back and it will cause a moderate amount of damage. You can avoid this by moving with the boss, but you're obviously in front of him, not being hit by the water, and he'll eventually stop. He won't cover the full room, and then just move back to your given positions. The tank swapping mechanic, you don't want anyone in front of the tank, in front of the boss, as the boss will do a frontal cone called Corrosive Blast. Anyone hit by this will have an increase of damage taken, so you want your main tank to be in front of the boss and the off tank to be off to the side. As soon as he does Corrosive Blast, your off tank will move in, taunt, and then your main tank will go off to the side so he doesn't get hit by an additional Corrosive Blast. Healers want to keep everyone healed up, and during phase 2 they'll want to focus on healing the contaminated puddles. Once they reach 100% health, then the boss will lose 1 corruption. The DPS want to DPS Immerseus during phase 1, and then DPS the Shard puddles during phase 2. These can be CC'd, slowed, things like that. So every time one is killed or healed, it will reduce the corruption on the boss by 1. Once the boss reaches 0 corruption, the boss will die, and that'll be the end of the fight. GG. So now that we've covered the short version of the fight, we're going to move into a long, more in-depth version of the encounter. And the way this encounter works is it's a 2-phase encounter, where every time the boss reaches 0 HP, you'll move into phase 2. And how you defeat the encounter is by getting his corruption bar, which is his energy bar under his HP, from 100 down to 0, and then the boss will die essentially. In terms of setup for the encounter, I'd recommend 2 tanks, 3 healers, and 5 DPS in 10 man. And 2 tanks, 5 to 7 healers, and the rest DPS in 25 man. Now if you need a little bit more healing, don't like fret to bring 6 or 7 healers in 25 man, as the DPS sort of enrage timer isn't too strict. So, you know, you should be able to bring that extra healer or 2 if you need it. In terms of positioning, the boss should tank the tank should tank the boss towards the entrance of the room, and everyone else should be spread out around the room, but no one should be in front of the boss, not even the off tank. The only person who should be in front of the boss is the current tank, and that's because of the ability called Corrosive Blast. Every time Corrosive Blast goes out, the off tank will need to come in and taunt off the main tank, as it causes the tank whoever got Corrosive Blast to take additional damage. So your main tank will want to move off to the side, and your off tank will want to come in front and taunt the boss. And you repeat that every single time Corrosive Blast happens. There's no reason for a tank to ever take 2 stacks. In terms of other mechanics going out in phase 1, you will have Swirl, which causes these little Shard splashes to spawn under each player in the raid, and the longer you stood in it, you're going to take more damage from just being stood in a basic void zone. Every time those spawn, just move to a clear spot and carry on DPSing or healing or tanking, as those can go on the tanks and healers as well. The other ability is called Swirl, and it will cause these little like splashes, these spouts to spawn, and they'll move around the room. If you're hit by these, you'll be knocked up and you'll take a small amount of damage. In addition to that, the boss will start to rotate clockwise around the room, doing like a water torrent. If you're hit by that, you'll be knocked back and take a moderate amount of damage. So as soon as that happens, you can run around the room and outrun it, or you can just take it with a cooldown, but it does do quite a bit of damage, so if too many people are being hit, you'll probably lose some players, so it's up to you how you want to deal with that mechanic. After the boss reaches 0 HP, I would recommend popping Bloodlust as soon as you pull the boss as well. There's no reason to save it for later on. And as soon as the boss reaches 0 HP, he will start to suck in all the Shard puddles, and he'll split into these little puddles. There'll be Shard puddles and there'll be corrupted puddles. Your DPS want to deal with the Shard puddles, and your healers want to DPS or deal with the corrupted puddles. And the way you deal with those is the Sharp Puddles want to literally just be killed, and the Corrupted Puddles want to be healed. Now in terms of the healers, it's good to note that every time one's healed, even if it's only 10%, it will be going slower. So if you have multiple in your area, it's probably worth doing a small AoE heal, get them slightly slowed while you deal with one at a time. And if you're within 12 yards of when it's healed to full, you'll gain 25% mana back, and it'll also increase the healing you do. So it's definitely worth trying to burst heal one up using all your big heals, get one up and then heal with the rest if there's quite a few in your area. In terms of DPS, they can be slowed, they can be rooted, and they can be knocked back, so it's worth making use of those if you have lots on your side and not many ways to deal with them quick enough. And it's also good to take in note when you kill one, it will cause you to take additional damage, cause additional damage to the Sharp Puddles as long as you're within 10 yards of it dying. So every time you kill one, you'll gain a damage buff that will help you kill the puddles a little bit quicker. And every time you deal with one of these phases, the boss will lose corruption. Say you cause him to lose 10 corruption, that means you've dealt with 10 adds properly in the phase 2, he'll come back with 90% HP. If you dealt with 20, he'll come back with 80% HP. So it depends on how much corruption he has left, will depend on his overall HP. So as the fight goes on, his HP pool will go lower and lower. As you can see, he's on like 30 corruption and he has barely any HP left. So the phase 1 lasts a lot sort of shorter, it's a lot quicker to deal with, to the point where you won't see half of his mechanics anymore. And you just literally repeat that until the boss is dead. Now, in terms of burst healing and where you should be using cooldowns, things like that, I'd say cooldowns more for phase 2, as every puddle that hits the boss that isn't dealt with, so it isn't healed or killed, will cause a large amount of raid damage to go out. So that might be the point where you need some burst healing, you need people to pop defensives and things like that. As you'll notice now, we weren't able to get all the healing ones killed, so it causes the raid to take a moderate amount of raid damage. And this is where you want to be using like tranquilities, personal cooldowns, health stones, things like that, just to help your raid get through it. But that is literally it. Just go through phase 1 and 2 over and over again until the boss has 0 corruption left, and that will be the end of the encounter. So good luck, and look out for more of these raid guides coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya!